I'm gluten-free and dairy-free and I can live grateful for alternatives. There's always an alternative. 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 There's always an alternative.
Hi, I'm Jean Duane, Alternative Cook, and I've created this series of DVDs to show you how to cook without gluten, dairy, and with low or no cholesterol. Think of it as an Epicurean adventure. You'll learn many cooking methods that will help you feel empowered in the kitchen. You'll be exposed to different alternative foods that will expand your horizons. You'll see how to cook different dishes for many genres of cuisine that are made with alternative ingredients that rival those with traditional ingredients. Foods you'll be proud to serve family and friends. The ingredients in the DVDs focus primarily on fruits, vegetables, grains, beans, nuts, and of course chocolate, in ways that are pleasing to the palate and fun to prepare. I use these foods because they're considered a healing diet. If your body is compromised with a disease or with various intolerances, this diet may help you heal faster, may help you have more energy, may make you lose weight, and may make you feel a whole lot better. You can always add fun, healthy snack foods as time goes on. Rest assured, you're not alone. And remember, there's always an alternative. In this DVD, we'll make kids' meals. Fast, easy, fun meals for kids of all ages. Before we start, I'd like to introduce my little friend, Miss Biscuit.
Hello, Jean.
Hi, Miss Biscuit.
Oh, I'm so happy to see you. I have a slight problem. You see, I know so many young ones who can't eat gluten or casein, and all they really want to be able to do is to eat foods that look the same as the foods that their friends eat.
Well, Miss Biscuit, there are alternatives.
Oh, you know, one thing they'd love to be able to eat is macaroni and cheese.
You're in luck. We'll make a mac and cheese with no gluten and no dairy that tastes really good and looks just like macaroni and cheese.
Oh, I can't wait. You know, another food they'd love to be able to eat is pizza.
We'll make a gluten-free, dairy-free pizza crust, and then we'll make lots of fun toppings so everyone can make the pizza the way they like it.
Yum! I can't wait to eat it. What else are you going to show in this DVD?
Tacos are a fun food. We'll make tacos with marinated fish or with breaded tofu sticks filled with guacamole, tomato salsa, and tangy coleslaw. They're nutritious and fast and easy to make, and we'll serve them with a fruit kebab.
Oh, those sound great. You know, I always enjoy food more when it looks attractive. They say we eat with our eyes first. You know, Jean, a young friend of mine went to his best friend's house last Sunday, and they had something called shepherd's pie. He couldn't eat it because of all the dairy products.
We'll make a shepherd's pie, and we'll have a cream sauce made of cashews, and fill it with vegetables, and then top it with a mashed potato topping.
Cashews?
Mm-hmm. Cashews make a rich, creamy sauce.
Oh, I love this! Mashed potatoes icing! Mashed potatoes are everyone's favorite. Mm-hmm. But what about something plain, like a sandwich? I think the little ones would love to be able to eat sandwiches with their friends at lunchtime.
We'll make bread with no gluten, no dairy, and no yeast. The bread is a quick bread. It's really easy and fast to make, and I think you're going to really like it. We'll make sandwiches out of that bread. First, we'll make a grilled cheese sandwich with no cheese. We'll make a sunflower seed spread to take the place of peanut butter, since so many kids are allergic to peanut butter. We'll make a cream cheese with vegetables that's really zesty and really tastes great. And then we'll serve the sandwiches with a creamy tomato soup.
Those sound wonderful. But what about a dessert? I love desserts, and I know the young ones would love to be able to eat chocolate cupcakes like all their friends.
I am so excited that Carol Finster is going to be a guest on this DVD to show how to make her vegan chocolate cake. We'll make those into cupcakes, fill them with marshmallow cream, top them with a ganache icing, and serve them with a non-dairy ice cream with a secret ingredient, and you won't believe how good it is.
Oh, Woohoo! That sounds splendid! Chocolate cupcakes with ice cream! Woohoo! Finally, something to serve at their birthday parties.
So, Miss Biscuit, remember, there's always an alternative. What's the first thing that comes to your mind if I say, what's a kid's favorite food? Pizza. And yet, children who are dairy-free and gluten-free probably feel pretty deprived when they go to a birthday party because there's nothing for them to eat. Well, this is a great recipe. It shows you how to make pizza with no dairy and no gluten, and it tastes great. And a lot of people I know who I've made this for who can't eat gluten cannot tell the difference. They love it. So to start, I like to pre-roast the vegetables. These are the wetter vegetables, and I've found that if you put raw vegetables on a pizza, it just makes the pizza too wet. So I'm going to chop up the wetter vegetables and bake them in the oven for just a little while until some of the moisture comes up. You can use anything you'd like on this pizza. I'm going to put mushrooms and eggplants and green peppers and some olives and lots of different kinds of toppings. So slice the vegetables, just about 1/4 of an inch thick. And just cut the green pepper into strips. Spray a baking sheet with some spray-on oil. Place the vegetables on the baking sheet. Spray with some spray-on oil. And I like to salt just a little, not too much. But it brings out the flavors in the vegetables and it helps the vegetables to sweat and cook in the oven. Bake at 425 degrees for 20 minutes. To make the pizza crust, first we start with the dry ingredients. We have brown rice flour, and for the exact measurements, please refer to your recipe booklet enclosed with the DVD. Tapioca flour. You know, people who are on diets that are traditional, who eat gluten, all they ever eat is wheat flour. We get to eat potato flour, tapioca flour, rice flour, corn flour. I mean, we have lots of variety in our diet. This is almond meal. Almond meal is one of those things that's very expensive if you don't have a Trader Joe's near your house. If you do have a Trader Joe's, buy it there. If you don't, make it yourself. Just grind up the almonds. And if you get raw almonds and grind them up in your food processor, it won't turn to almond butter unless you put oil in or unless you buy almonds that already have oil added to them. So just buy raw almonds and process them and you'll get this. This is golden flax and it's ground. And one of the reasons I add that is for fiber, because if you look at some of these flours, and starches. This is potato starch, so that's the last dry flour. They're sort of refined, so I like to add some fiber. In this recipe, you also add the salt to the dry ingredients, xanthan gum, which is going to help it get tight and not fall apart, and add the yeast to the dry ingredients.
Xanthan gum is a stabilizer used in gluten-free baked goods and in many other everyday products. Since gluten-free foods lack the elasticity of the protein gluten, xanthan gum adds structure to the baked item.
Mix the dry ingredients together and then set them aside. For the wet ingredients, we're going to start by heating the water to about 115 degrees, or just until it really feels warm. So I'm going to heat it in the microwave for about 45 seconds. We heat the water to dissolve the agar powder. Agar is a vegetarian gelatin, and you can buy it at the health food store or at the Asian store. You can also use just any kind of gelatin that you buy at the grocery store. This is a vegan version of it.
Agar is a vegetarian gelatin. It's obtained from seaweed. It's also known as canteen. No, not the kind you're thinking of. It's used as a thickening agent in soups, jellies, and desserts. It comes in sticks which must be melted in water before using, or in powder form, which Jean prefers.
And let it sit for about a minute. Add the agar water to the bowl, honey, olive oil, and apple cider vinegar. You'll find apple cider vinegar in a lot of gluten-free recipes. It just adds a little acid and it makes it taste a lot better. Mix the wet ingredients together. Add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. And mix with the hand mixer for about a minute. You'll see it'll set up. You know how you can just look at a dough and tell you've got it right? This is the right consistency. I'm very happy with this dough. I let the dough sit for about a minute after I mixed it, and it's ready now to put in the pan. So start by spraying the pan with a little oil. I'm going to make 2 sizes of pizza. This little tiny personal pizza and then a square pizza. And the trick with any of these kind of doughs is to oil your hands first. If you oil your hands, it's great. It'll make the pizza dough turn a beautiful color of brown, and it helps you work with the dough a lot better. So take some dough and then just press it into the pan. Oh, this just looks so good. Pre-bake the crust for 10 minutes at 425 degrees. They can go right in the same oven as the vegetables are roasting in. Here's the scenario. Your gluten-free, dairy-free child has been invited to a classmate's birthday party. Well, now we all know that a huge part of the birthday party is eating. Probably there's going to be pizza served for lunch. Probably there's going to be cake made from wheat and ice cream made from dairy products. So there's virtually nothing your child can eat at the birthday party. What do you do? Well, you might call the hostess in advance and find out what's being served and make something that looks like what the other children are eating so that your child can be served something at the same time and not feel isolated. Same with the dessert. Maybe you could make a cupcake for your child or buy one that's gluten-free and dairy-free and then take it over to the hostess's house before the party so it can be served to your child when everyone else gets their treats and your child won't feel like they're all by themselves. It's the worst thing in the world to feel like there's nothing you can eat at a party, but there are some things that you can do and some alternatives. The vegetables have been baked for 20 minutes and you can see they're sort of done. I just wanted them to steam a little so a lot of the moisture was out, so when I put them on the pizza they're not too wet. And the pizza crust has baked for 10 minutes and now it's all ready to top. So I'm going to start with the sauce. And this is Classico sauce, and this one is the traditional sweet basil, which does not contain cheese or gluten, but you really need to read the ingredients. I like to put the eggplant on next, and then maybe some mushrooms, and black olives. I remember putting these on my fingers when I was a little girl and eating them off. Of course, they weren't sliced then, but... and green olives, and you could put any kind of vegetable that you like or any other topping that you like, and some green peppers and some cheese. This is Follow Your Heart vegan gourmet mozzarella style cheese, and it is just wonderful. You know, after all these years of not finding any good cheese substitutes, I am really excited about this cheese. It's just great. It makes pizza taste like pizza again, and it's really a great alternative. I'm just going to slice it. You could grate it, but I'm just going to slice it really thinly and then top the pizza with it. Bake in a 425-degree oven for 20 minutes. The pizzas are baked and they're ready to serve. And what would complement a pizza better for a child than ranch dressing on a salad? So I've got a ranch dressing recipe that I've developed that has no gluten, no dairy, of course, and I'm featuring a couple of things. This is Lundberg's rice drink, and it's gluten-free, and gluten-free rice drinks are sort of hard to come by, and this is one I would highly recommend. And I'm also featuring soya mayonnaise instead of mayonnaise. I love this stuff. So to make the ranch dressing, put the mayonnaise in, the mayonnaise. The exact measurements are in your recipe booklet. Onion powder, apple cider vinegar, dried parsley, black pepper, umeboshi plum vinegar, steamed tofu, and you can use whatever you have on hand, rice milk, olive oil, and garlic salt. Blend. And taste. That's really good. This would be great on any kind of vegetable or as a dip, as well as for a salad dressing. I made these little pizzas in a springform pan, and you always need to use a pan with sides with the gluten-free batters because they just don't work in a regular pizza pan. But see how easy this comes out, and look how cute this pizza is. Isn't this perfect for a little person? That's just a cheese pizza and a salad with ranch dressing. These pizzas are so much fun to make, and if you put out all the toppings and everybody can make their own, everybody can express themselves with a pizza, and it's a fun thing to do. These tacos feature a marinated fish or a breaded tofu filling with an avocado spread, a tomato chopped salsa, and a coleslaw that's really great, and it stands on its own as a side dish, or it's a wonderful filling in the taco. These tacos are fun to make, and I think they're a good way to encourage your children to eat a lot of vegetables. To marinate the fish, start by rolling the lime. I'm going to ream it to get all the juice out of it. Now I'm using codfish today. You could use any kind of fish that is firm white fish because you're going to want to cut it into strips after it's cooked, so you need something that'll hold up when you do that. So I'm going to use the juice of one lime. Add olive oil, salt, and I'm using garlic salt. You could just use plain salt. And pepper. And there's a little more pepper than you might think. Pepper really helps with the salt to bring out the flavors of the fish. It makes it taste really good with the lime and olive oil. Mix. And put the fish in the bowl. Try to coat it with the marinade. And put it in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. To make the dredge for the tofu fingers, I'm using these cornflakes. These are Nature's Path cornflakes, and they're unsweetened. Unsweetened cornflakes are sort of hard to find. These are in the health food store, and they also come in a honeyed version. This is the non-honeyed version. Take the cornflakes and put them in a food processor. Add rice flour and salt. Process until it turns into a sort of a flour consistency. Oh, this looks right. See this consistency? Pretty much a flour now. Put it in a plastic bag, which we will use to dredge the tofu. Take the tofu and open it and drain the water. Rinse it off. Oops. It took a little dive. And then press it in some paper towels. This is extra firm tofu. Cut the tofu in half and then cut these into thirds. You want them to be about a ½ inch thick. And then cut this in 4 pieces. So we have tofu fingers about like that. Separate the fingers. Spray on some spray-on oil. Spray a baking sheet with some spray-on oil. I'm just using spray-on olive oil. Place a couple of the fingers in the dredge bag. I'm only going to do a few at a time because they tend to break. And just coat them all around and place them on the baking sheet. Spray the tops with some spray-on oil. This helps them to brown. And then bake them at 400 degrees for 12 minutes. We're going to make the coleslaw all in one bowl so we only get one thing dirty. So I'm going to put the dressing in first and then I'll put the cabbage in on top and then mix it. So the dressing is cider vinegar, soya mayonnaise instead of mayonnaise, olive oil, red hot chili oil, that adds a little zing, pepper, and some salt. I'm using garlic salt. Mix it up. To shred the cabbage and the carrots, I use a wide blade. This is a little wider than you might be accustomed to. It's actually a number 6 blade. And I find with leafy things, a larger, thicker blade works a lot better than a thinner, narrow blade does. So I'm going to shred the cabbage by cutting it. Cut it into wedges like this. Now, of course, if you were in a hurry, you could buy the pre-packaged coleslaw at the grocery store and just make the dressing. It'd be really fast and easy to do it. And process. Pour the shredded cabbage and carrots into the bowl and toss. This will get better if it sits a little while. Like if you just let it marinate for maybe an hour or so, it tastes wonderful. To make the avocado filling, start by cutting an avocado. And take out the flesh. Roll a lemon. And then ream in about a tablespoon of lemon juice. Add salt. And I use a pastry whisk to whisk the avocado. Taste. This is a delicious spread. We'll set it aside for future use. To make the tomato salsa, just cut the tomatoes. I'm going to cube them about like that. This is a simple little salsa, and really it's an accent for our tacos. Add olive oil, lime juice, garlic salt, and some dried cilantro. Toss. And we'll set this aside for future use. The cod's been marinating in the lime juice and the olive oil, and if you look at it, you can see it's sort of getting opaque, so it's actually getting broken down because of the acid in the lime. I'm going to put it in a hot griddle. I'm going to pour some of the marinade on it. And it's okay to do that because it's all going to cook. And then put a lid on it and let it cook for just a little while, and then we'll come back and turn it. Oh, this looks great. I think I'll just let it cook a little longer. This is done, and now I'm ready to assemble the tacos. After the diagnosis process, you may feel really isolated if you're the parent of a child with special needs or with special dietary restrictions, but you're not alone. There are lots of national support groups that have local chapters set up specifically to help you. For example, there's the Autism Society of America. There's ANDI, which is the Autism Network for Dietary Intervention, specifically for parents of children who are following the gluten-free, dairy-free diet. For celiacs, or for those with gluten intolerance, there's the Celiac Sprue Association, and that has an offshoot called CEAL Kids. There's the Gluten Intolerance Group. There's the Celiac Disease Foundation, and that one has an offshoot just for children called ROC, Raising Our Celiac Kids. For children with allergies, there's the Food Allergy Network, and there's an offshoot called FAN Kids. So you see, you're not alone. There's lots of help out there, and for a complete listing, please visit my website at www.alternativecook.com. I have everything ready to assemble the tacos. The marinated fish is cooked, the tofu fingers have baked, the coleslaw is made, the tomato sauce is ready, and the avocado spread is ready. And I'm using these Garden of Eden taco shells. These came from the health food store, and they're great, and they're gluten-free. To make the taco, start with some avocado spread. It's a good thing to put on the bottom because then the fish will stick to it. Add some fish or tofu fingers, some tomato salsa, and some coleslaw. Isn't this fun? Macaroni and cheese. Would you believe that you can make macaroni and cheese with no gluten, no casein, no dairy products, and no whey, and it still looks like macaroni and cheese, but even more important, it tastes like macaroni and cheese. It tastes great. So if your child is gluten-free, casein-free, or if you're following a gluten-free, dairy-free diet, and you're looking for some alternatives that taste like cheese, you're in luck. I'm featuring 3 different kinds of pastas today. This is Ancient Harvest Quinoa Elbow Macaroni, and it's made with quinoa flour and corn flour. This is Tinkiata Rice Pasta, and it's made with whole brown rice and rice bran. This is Heartland's Finest Elbow Macaroni, and it's made with navy bean flour and corn flour, so it's full of protein. I'm going to start by cooking the pasta because by the time the pasta is cooked and we make the rest of the meal, everything will be done at the same time. The whole thing takes about 15 minutes to cook. So I'm going to start by using the Tinkiata rice pasta. Just cook the pasta according to the manufacturer's directions. To make the cheese sauce, we start by blanching almonds. Now, this is an optional step. To blanch the almonds, just pour them into boiling water for 1 minute. You really don't need to blanch the almonds for this recipe. It's only for cosmetic reasons that we're doing it. After they've boiled for a minute, strain them, dry the almonds on a paper towel, and then the skins just pop right off. And the almonds go everywhere. To make the cheese sauce, start with water. Just add it to the blender. This is really easy to make. Everything goes in the blender and gets blended, and then we'll cook it. Add the blanched almonds, brown rice flour, umeboshi plum vinegar, and this vinegar is considered a salt. It's really not a vinegar. You'd use it like a salt, and it adds a tangy taste that makes it taste more like cheese.
The umi plum is common in Japan. It is harvested when green, and then when pickled it's called an umeboshi plum. It is often used as a condiment. These plums are tart and are made into vinegar, jam, and wine.
And nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast is a wonderful food. It's full of B vitamins, and it makes food taste like cheese.
Nutritional yeast is grown on molasses and then pasteurized to kill the yeast. It is full of 18 amino acids, 15 minerals, and rich in B-complex vitamins, including B12. It adds a cheese taste to foods.
This recipe also features Follow Your Heart Gourmet Vegan Cheese. Now this is cheddar cheese, and it's made from soybeans. There are no dairy products in this cheese. Some of the vegan cheeses that say they're dairy-free in the health food store contain casein. The recipe calls for 2.5 ounces of cheese. This particular package is 10 ounces, so you'd need 1/4 of the package. Add the cheese. And blend until smooth. It's going to take about 2 or 3 minutes because of the almonds, so you want it to totally get smooth. Taste. Now if you wanted it to be a little saltier, I think it's plenty salty, you would add a little more umeboshi plum vinegar, but I like the way it tastes. Pour the cheese mixture into the saucepan. Now, there's almonds in here, and almonds contain fat, and that could scorch really easily. So you want to keep it moving around the pan. It won't take very long to cook, but you want it to cook until it gets thick. Following a gluten-free, dairy-free diet can be challenging, but it's even more challenging to try to read labels and figure out what has gluten and dairy in it. There's a great website at www.gfcfdiet.com. If you go to that website and click on the word unacceptable, you will get a long list, an alphabetized list of foods that mean gluten and dairy. So I would urge you to go to this website and read the list, because it'll help you at least figure out which foods to avoid and which are okay to eat. This is almost done. And the way I can tell is, well, first of all, it's bubbling, which really means I need to keep stirring. But also, I can feel it pulling my whisk. And see how I have tracks? That's what you're looking for, some tracks. This is a great sauce, and this would be wonderful on a vegetable. It's great on broccoli or asparagus. It's a great way to encourage your children to eat vegetables. Strain the macaroni, and I always spray it with a little spray-on oil to prevent clumping. What could go better with macaroni and cheese than hot dogs? These are tofu pups, And if you're following a gluten-free, dairy-free, low cholesterol diet, you'll be happy to know these taste good. They taste like hot dogs, and they aren't full of stuff that you might not want to eat. But if you like the regular kind, go ahead and try them. There are some gluten-free hot dogs. You just need to read the ingredients. I'm just going to cook these on the grill. These look ready to me. So I'm going to cut them on the diagonal. And add them to the macaroni. Pour on the cheese sauce. This smells so good. Just stir it up. This is such an easy, fast meal to make. Tastes great. Who wants to sit and eat a rice cake when everybody else is eating sandwiches? Yet a lot of the gluten-free bread that's available in the health food store has dairy products. So this recipe has no dairy and no gluten, and it also has no yeast, and that's why I'm really excited about it. It's fast, it does not have to rise, and it cooks just like a quick bread, so the baking time is only 40 minutes, the prep time is only about 10 minutes, so this is a quick bread, and it has a great crumb just like a yeast bread, and I hope you really like it. To start, we start by making a flax mix. Flax mix is what I use instead of egg. And I put whole flax seeds in a blender with water. And the exact measurements for all of this are in your little recipe booklet included with the DVD. Put the flax mix in a blender and blend until it's whipped. This will take about a minute.
Flaxseed is high in omega-3 fats and is used by people trying to reduce their cholesterol and triglycerides. It is high in antioxidants and fiber. Flax seeds need to be ground to release the oils in them. Flax seeds have a pleasant, nutty taste.
See how nice and thick this is? That's exactly what you want. I use this as an egg substitute in recipes. I also use it as a blender test. If I buy a new blender and it doesn't pass my flax mix test, it goes right back to the store. And you know, not all blenders can do this. So you need a blender with really sharp blades. And also it doesn't work in a food processor, so we need to make the flax mix in the blender. To make the bread, start off with the flax mix and put it in a food processor. This is really pretty easy. Everything goes in the food processor. The hardest part of the recipe is mise en place, is getting everything organized to make the bread. Once you've done that, it's easy. Okay, then we add oil, apple cider vinegar, xanthan gum, salt, agar powder. This is the vegan version of gelatin, baking powder, which is one of the leavenings, baking soda, and some honey. Process just these things until it makes a base. You'll see. This is a great bread base. This is just what you want it to look like, just like that. It's going to be great. Now we add the dry ingredients. Tapioca flour, sorghum flour, soy flour. You could add any kind of bean flour you like. If you like navy bean flour or fava, you could use any kind of bean flour there. And cornstarch. Here again, you could use any kind of starch you want. If you want to use potato starch, you could do that. Arrowroot starch, any of those would work with this. And then water. Process for 45 seconds. 1, 2. Oh, this is nice dough. Now, the soy flour has a unique smell. Don't worry about that. It goes away when you bake it. We're going to use these little pans. These are 6 by 3 by 2, and I want to oil them. Small pans yield a better product with gluten-free. It's just the way it is. Then oil your hands and split the dough between the two loaf pans. Wasn't this batter easy to make? Just wait till you see what it looks like when you bake it too. Oil your hands again. Now I had to clean up my hands because the dough is sticky. And then just rub the top a little and smooth it out so that you're sort of forming the loaf here. And then this oil is going to make it brown on top. And then score the top with a sharp knife. This just lets out some of the air while it's baking. Now bake them in a 375-degree oven for 40 minutes. Cross-contamination in your own kitchen can be an issue, especially if you live in a household where some people eat gluten and dairy and other people don't. So consider buying 2 sets of the foods that are often cross-contaminated, like condiments. Here's an example. If someone comes along and takes some jelly out and puts some jelly on their wheat bread and then sticks the knife back in the jelly, they've just cross-contaminated the jelly. It's that easy, and people who are gluten intolerant are that sensitive. So if you buy 2 sets of condiments and label 1 set as gluten-free and designate a shelf in the refrigerator for those gluten-free items, then the person that's gluten intolerant will be safe to eat those condiments and not have to worry about cross-contamination. These are done. They baked about 35 minutes. So between 35 and 40 minutes is usually how long they take. And to test to see if they're done, take them out of the pan and tap. If you hear a hollow sound, they're ready. Let them cool on a rack, and then you can cut the bread after it's cooled. We're going to make a couple of spreads for the sandwiches. This one is a sunflower seed spread. Start by dry roasting the sunflower seeds. Just pour them in a hot pan. These are raw sunflower seeds. And the reason I did this one is because so many kids are allergic to either peanuts or tree nuts, and peanut butter sandwiches are really popular. So this is an alternative to peanut butter. It's a sunflower seed base, and we're going to put some honey in it, and it'll be sweet and it'll taste really good on a sandwich. You want to keep this moving. If it's a light seed like a sunflower seed is, they'll burn really easily. I really can't think of a better smell than toasting seeds or nuts in the house. It smells so homey. Look at these. See how they're getting brown? These are done, and I'm going to take them off of the heat and let them cool, and then we'll process them into a spread. To make the spread, place the cooled sunflower seeds in the food processor, salt, a little oil, and this is what makes it set up into a spread. Without oil, you just have some nice ground sunflower seeds and some honey, and process until smooth. This looks like the right consistency. Looks spreadable. Let's taste. It's sweet, and I like the texture. And roasting the sunflower seeds really makes them taste good. We'll set this aside and make the next spread. The next spread is a vegetable cream cheese that's made with tofu. I'm using a soft organic tofu. What I'm going to do first is open the package and drain it. Rinse it off in some clean water. And we're going to use half of this, so I'm going to cut it in half. And steam it for about 5 minutes. Now, if you don't have a steamer, you could use a pot with one of those little steamer racks and a lid. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, but you just want to steam it for about 5 minutes. To make the vegetable spread, take the steamed tofu, put it in the food processor, add dehydrated soup vegetables. These just came from the health food store and they're called dehydrated soup vegetables, and they are wonderful. They smell just great. They make a wonderful dip. This would be a great dip too for potato chips or for vegetables. Umeboshi plum vinegar, which is the salt in this, and olive oil. Process until smooth. This is one of those spreads that would taste really good in a couple of hours. It'll taste better as it sits because the vegetables open up and the flavors just explode and make everything taste really good. Just want to taste it now. You know, if you've never used umeboshi plum vinegar before, it's really a great salt. It's smooth. It's just a great addition. Makes it a little bit tangy. Really tastes good. We're going to set this aside, and the next thing we'll do are grilled cheese sandwiches. My personal favorite sandwich is the grilled cheese sandwich with tomato and mayonnaise. And it's been a long time. I finally found this cheese and I'm back in business. The first thing is to slice the bread. Look at the crumb in that bread. It's a nice texture. I'm using Follow Your Heart vegan gourmet cheddar style cheese. There's also another one that you could use for this sandwich, and that's the Jack cheese. This is the Follow Your Heart Jack cheese. I just love these cheeses. But I'm going to use the cheddar for the sandwich. Slice the cheese. Put some mayonnaise on the bread. And I'm also featuring soya mayonnaise instead of mayonnaise. I love this stuff. Spray a little spray-on oil on the outside of the bread. Salt. And put it on a hot grill. This will be ready in just a few minutes. That looks great. Garnish with a tomato. And now it's ready to serve. What could complement sandwiches better than cream of tomato soup? This soup is made with a cashew cream. To start to make the cashew cream, take the cashews, these are raw cashews, and put water in the blender and blend until smooth. I think you'll be really surprised at how good the soup tastes with cashew cream. This is blended for about 2 minutes and it's pretty smooth. I'm going to strain it now into a saucepan. Add tomato puree. This can just contains tomato pulp. That's it, nothing else. And that's what I look for. Add onion powder, garlic powder, garlic salt, black pepper, and just a little agave nectar.
Agave nectar. That reminds me. Agave nectar. Anyway, it's extracted from the agave cactus. Ouch. It's very sweet, but it's low on the glycemic index. It doesn't significantly raise blood sugar levels and is used by a lot of people with diabetes or hyperglycemia.
Whisk together. I'm just going to heat it until it gets thick and all blended together. You may wonder if you could do all of this in the blender and blend it, and I've tried it. And with that much volume in a blender, it just explodes all over the place, and it doesn't really mix very well. If you have a huge blender, it might work, but in the size that I'm using, it really doesn't. I found it's better just to make the cashew milk separately and then mix it all together in the saucepan. See how creamy and thick this soup is? It's cooked about 10 minutes. Just to bring it up to pretty much to a boil, and then it's pretty much done. Let's taste. It's really creamy and rich. I think your child's going to like this. I've assembled my sandwiches and my soup is all ready. We've got the grilled cheese with the mayonnaise and the fresh sliced tomato garnished with some carrots. We have the tofu spread, which is the cream cheese vegetable spread with some sliced avocado and some bean sprouts and melon names cut out of with cookie cutters. And then we have the sunflower seed sandwich garnished with sliced apple and grapes. Wouldn't this be a nice lunch for your child? Shepherd's pie. This savory pie is filled with hearty vegetables in a cream sauce and iced with mashed potatoes. We make them in different size ramekins so anyone can have however much they want. And you can make a whole lot of these and then save them for different meals throughout the week. To start, we'll boil the potatoes. By the time the potatoes are boiled, we should have the sauce made with the vegetables and everything will be ready to assemble at the same time. Peel the potatoes. I'm just going to cut them in pieces about that size and put them in a pan of water and boil them for about 15 or 20 minutes or so. I have about 4 cups of vegetables here. You can use whatever vegetables you like. I like broccoli and carrots and cauliflower, so that's what I'm using. And it might be a little over 4 cups, but if you're in a hurry, just use frozen vegetables. You can microwave them instead of steaming them. So just steam the vegetables in a steamer for about 10 minutes. To make the sauce, start off with a broth. This is Imagine no chicken broth, and it's just with vegetables and it tastes just great. You can use whatever broth you like. I'm going to use about 1.5 cups in here. I'm just going to use the blender to measure. Add rice flour, cashews, salt, pepper, and just a dash of nutmeg. A little goes a long way. And blend until smooth. This will take about 3 minutes. This is ready now to cook. Pour the sauce in a saucepan. It's set on high until it boils, and then we'll turn it way down and then stir it until it thickens. This is ready. See how thick it got? And it happened pretty quickly. It's time now to add the vegetables. Chop the vegetables. And I'm chopping them in smaller pieces as I think of the size of the ramekin. I'd like for my vegetables to be about this size, bite size. You may look at this sauce and think it's really too thick, but if you put the wet vegetables in here, it thins down the sauce. So I deliberately make the sauce a little thicker, and then I know that it's going to thin down with the vegetables. Let's taste these vegetables with the sauce. I'll tell you that this no chicken broth is really savory. It tastes really good. And the combination of just a little nutmeg and pepper in a white cream sauce, it's just wonderful. Okay, now I want to mash the potatoes, and I've already strained off the water. I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of oil per potato. So I put 3 in here, so 3 tablespoons of oil. about a quarter of a cup of the chicken broth, the non-chicken broth, no chicken broth, and then some salt and mash. Start by putting the vegetable mixture in a ramekin. Now there's a couple things you can do with this. Just put some potato on top and press it down a little. And then spray it with some spray-on oil, and that way it'll brown in the oven. Now, I'm a cook. Cooks like toys. So, another option is to make some stars. This is filled with the potatoes that are whipped. Now, you know, if you weren't cooking for a child, you might want to put paprika on top just to make it look really pretty. But I know some children who don't like things with paprika on top, so you might want to leave it plain. Spray with some spray-on oil. Bake in a 350-degree oven for 45 minutes. So what do you offer your child after school or play if you can't offer them milk and cookies? Well, there are lots of alternatives that are gluten-free and dairy-free. Now, I just want to say, I am not sponsored by any company of any food that is featured in the DVD. I've just found these things and cooked with them or eaten them, and I'm excited about them, and I'd like to share them with you. These gluten-free breakfast bars are a great snack, and they're also a nice breakfast food. Lara bars are considered a raw food, and these are just dried fruits and nuts, and these make great emergency food to put in your purse or your car and have on hand for a quick snack. Boomy bars are with puffed rice and nuts and dried fruits, and these are really good. These Osprey sesame bars are crunchy, and they're just sesame seeds and rice syrup or date syrup or molasses. These are brown rice crackers, and these are from Edward & Son, and this particular kind have dried vegetables in them. These are Mary's crackers, and these are made with quinoa and rice. These are just vegetables. These are dehydrated vegetables, and they also make just fruits. These make great snacks. They also reconstitute really well in soups, and they also travel really well. Then we have some salty snacks. These Terra chips are vegetable chips. Some of the foods in this brand are not gluten-free and dairy-free, so you do need to read the label. This particular type is gluten-free and dairy-free. Potato chips are always a great standby, and these are just potato chips with potatoes. They're gluten-free and dairy-free. My favorite are Tings. These are gluten-free and dairy-free, although not all the foods in this line are gluten-free and dairy-free either, so you do need to read the labels. This particular one is okay, and these taste like the Cheetos that you might remember when you were young. I love these. Corn chips are also a good alternative. These are the guiltless kind. They're baked, and these are just yellow corn chips. These are the spicy kind, and these are really good. Popcorn's another great treat to have on hand. It's fast and easy, and you can make it yourself or you can buy it already made. And finally, it's just nice sometimes to have mixes on hand. If you feel like making something homemade or having the house smell really good when somebody comes home from school, these are great and easy and fast. If you're not eating eggs, this one calls for 3 eggs. You could make a flax mix with 1 cup of water and 3 tablespoons of flaxseed blended and then added to the recipe. Or if you can eat egg whites, you could just use 6 egg whites instead of the 3 eggs. And this is another mix from the gluten-free pantry. This is gluten-free and dairy-free, and this is a chocolate truffle brownie. I'm not advocating junk food, but I do think if you have children, it's nice to have some fun foods on hand just for a treat from time to time. These are fun and easy to make, and you can keep them in the refrigerator for several days and then heat them up in the microwave. Apple crisp. This is a simple dessert to make, and you can assemble it, and by the time dinner is finished, this will be ready to serve. We're going to start by making a crisp with a base of almonds. These are raw almonds, so start by putting the almonds in the food processor. Add organic cane sugar, rice flour, cinnamon, just a little salt, and some oil. Process until it gets to be a crisp. You'll see. This looks about right. Now, the reason this didn't make almond butter, because we put oil in with nuts, is because we put flour and sugar in here as well, which keeps it from clumping too much. This is going to be fine. We're going to set this aside and get the apples ready. Peel the apples. After you finish chopping the apples, add apple juice concentrate. This is a sweetener. It's a natural way to sweeten apples. Add dried cherries. You could also add raisins or blueberries or dried cranberries. This is just for color, to make it pretty. And then add the crisp. Just sprinkle it on. Now, if you like a lot of crisp, you could double this recipe. I like some crisp, but not too much. Bake in a 350-degree oven for about 45 minutes. Cover about halfway through the baking process so the apples cook, and also to prevent over-browning of the crisp. This baked for about 45 minutes and it's ready to eat, and this makes a great dessert for any day of the week or a good breakfast. I am so excited today to have Carol Finster, the pioneer of the gluten-free movement. Carol's written quite a few cookbooks. Do you want to tell us the names of a couple of them?
Gluten-free 101, cooking-free, wheat-free recipes and menus, and I have 2 books in the works right now, so I've written a few.
And you have won 1,000 gluten-free recipes?
1,000 gluten-free recipes coming out next year.
I can't wait. I am so grateful for your cookbooks, because when I was first diagnosed, you were the one that taught me how to do so many things.
Bless your heart. I love to eat, and my goal is, if I love to eat, probably others do too, so everyone gets to eat and enjoy their favorite foods. That's what's important to me.
So today we're featuring your gluten-free cake recipe in the form of a cupcake.
Oh, good.
And we're going to fill it with marshmallow cream.
Yum.
And then top it with a ganache icing.
Oh, that sounds great.
It's simple and it looks good.
And the kids are going to love that.
And I thought we'd serve it with a cashew ice cream.
That sounds delicious. I can't wait.
Let's get started.
Okay.
So to start, we made Carol's flour blend. Can you tell us a little bit about the flour blend?
And what we've got over here, the tannish color flour, that's the sorghum flour. And I like that because it lends protein and a nice flavor to what we're baking. Then we have tapioca flour, and that gives a nice crunchiness to the exterior of the baked item. It gives that little crunchy crust. And then good old cornstarch. We all know cornstarch. We've all cooked with that forever. That gives a little lightness to what you're baking. Mixed together, you can use these 3 flours as one, just like we would use wheat flour if we were using wheat.
So this is like our substitute for
It's
all-purpose
our substitute
flour.
for all-purpose flour. That's right. And I use it in
Perfect.
everything.
To make Carol's flour blend, mix together sorghum flour, tapioca flour, and cornstarch. I've made this chocolate cake so many times. My husband calls it finsters. He says, "Would you please make a finster tonight?" He just loves it.
Oh, that's cute. I understand these cakes were made in wartime when eggs and things like that were scarcer.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I've read that, yeah.
Oh, that's very
Isn't that
interesting.
interesting?
Yeah. You were probably healthier back then,
Probably
too.
healthier, but you know, today we avoid things like gluten and dairy and eggs because we can't have them. And the good news is we can still have all of our favorite foods. We can just use a substitute for those ingredients. So that looks like a great flour blend. It's ready to go.
Okay. So we'll take this all-purpose flour that we made and make it into Carol's cake mix.
Okay.
Let's talk about that a little. We have sugar.
That's obviously a component of any cake mix that you make. We have salt.
Okay.
We have baking soda, xanthan gum. And xanthan gum is what's going to give your cake body and make it not fall apart.
Perfect.
Kind of replaces the function of gluten.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So we have the ingredients in here, and
We have the
then
ingredients, and now what we're going to do is sift them into a bag to store them. But the reason we're sifting is to make sure that everything is blended together, because you don't want a little clump of baking soda somewhere in your cake mix that might not blend, with everything else, and leave little pockets of weird things happening in your cakes.
so I'm going to seal the bag.
Seal it real tight. You don't want
Okay.
anything falling out.
All right. Shake it.
Shake it just as much as you can, and that's sort of the final assurance that everything is mixed up. You're essentially making a cake mix. If you were to buy this cake mix in a store, it's already been made by a huge manufacturing plant, and they really mix it up really well. So you're doing the home version of a small mixer, okay? Now you have a mix, and you want to label it real carefully, and then put it on your pantry shelf, and the next time when the urge to bake strikes and you want something right away like cookies or brownies or another cake or cupcakes, you're ready to bake.
So I take the Carol's cake mix and put in, I think it was 2 3/4 cups for this recipe.
Right.
And I'm going to have a little bit left over, but that's okay because I can just
That's
store
okay.
it and
it's
use
just
it.
like any other mix. You would have a little left over, store it. You can add to it later. It'll be ready for you.
Okay, I'm going to add the other dry ingredient, the
Add the
cocoa
dry
powder.
ingredients, and you notice we're not going to add them in any particular order. You're just going to dump them.
So I'm going to dump the wet ingredients right here on
Yeah,
top.
right on top.
Okay,
Right on top.
so let me heat this water to 120
120,
degrees.
right.
And now we're up to 113.
That's close enough. I think that's
It's
good
100.
enough.
Oh, it's getting.
It's gonna
oh,
pop up
look.
some more.
Yeah, it's 118.
Perfect.
Tell me why we do that.
Well, the hot water at 120 is much hotter than our body temp. So it's just a way to make sure that the baking soda is in an environment that's already room temp.
So we get a jump start.
We get a jump start. When it goes in the oven, it can start rising right away, as opposed to working to reach that temperature. it
Okay.
needs. So that's just that simple.
So I just add the water and the
You
oil.
just dump it in, and you may say to yourself, there's no particular order, Carol?
Wow.
And no, there's not, because this is what's called a dump cake. And everything
Vanilla?
you put in it, you just dump in no particular order. And this is the vinegar.
So why do we put the vinegar in here?
Well, it seems an odd thing in a cake, doesn't it?
Yes.
It actually helps make sure the pH balance of all the ingredients is just right. It's an acid. The baking soda you had in there was an alkali, and you're kind of balancing the acidity to reach the right pH. So you'll never taste it, so don't worry. You could use lemon juice too. It's
That's good
acid,
to know.
but you'll never detect it.
Thanks for holding the bowl
Oh,
while I
it feels
mix
good.
this.
That warm water feels good.
Okay. So I'm going to mix for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, not very long.
Okay.
Just making sure we're getting everything all mixed together. And it will look like an ordinary cake batter, even though it's not. It doesn't have any eggs in it.
This does look like a regular cake.
It looks really normal. And you're doing a good thing by scraping down the side, because sometimes little bits of flour or little bits of ingredients can become stuck to the sides. And then when you bake it, they can be clumps of something in your cake that you don't want. So
Sometimes those clumps are okay when there's sugar.
if there's sugar,
Oil the pan.
oil the pan, right. Oil every crevice, because you don't want the cakes to stick. And you're using oil. You could also use a shortening. I find that either this kind of oil or shortening works better than the spray kind, because sometimes when you spray and get too much, you get some residual moisture.
I've had that happen, where the bottoms just sort of get soggy.
It gets soggy, yeah, and you just don't need that. So you're doing, what needs to be done, making sure every little area is coated. And then when the cake bakes, it won't stick to the pan. It will naturally rise on its own, and it will come out when it's done a lot easier too.
Okay, and then just spoon these into
Spread
the
'em
little
in.
pans.
Yep.
I found this recipe makes 12 cupcakes, just
12
exactly.
even. Right, right.
So what I do is I make the dry ingredients. I mix the Carol's flour mix, and then I mix the Carol's cake mix, and then I go ahead and add the cocoa powder, and I think that's the only other dry ingredient, right?
Right.
And
right.
and then I have plastic bags all set in the, I keep them in the freezer, and they're just ready to make the cake, and all I have to do is add the wet ingredients.
That's right. You probably want to make sure you bring that flour mix to room temperature before you start baking with
Okay.
it, so that it doesn't hinder the rising action. Otherwise, yeah, that's exactly what I do.
Takes all the pressure
In fact, by
off.
the time your oven preheats, you probably have whatever you're making ready to go into it.
And that's how it used to be.
That's how it used to be.
These baked in a 325-degree oven for 28 minutes.
They're perfect.
I love these.
They're just perfect. Okay.
This is the fun part.
This is the fun part.
We're going to fill these with marshmallow cream. All right, I
Cream.
found this thing. It's like the ultimate cake decorator at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Oh, okay. That is serious cake
And
decorating.
it's full of marshmallow cream.
Just ordinary, the stuff you buy in the jar in
Yep.
the store.
And I found that the smaller tip that you would think would make sense with the small point that would insert better didn't work because it wouldn't come out. So I'm using a thicker tip.
Fairly big tip.
Right.
Okay.
So
okay.
you just push it
And
in.
you're not going in very far, you say.
It'll go all the
go
way
all the
through.
way through, yeah.
Then you'll have a hold of China.
Yeah. How fun. The kids would love this.
I know, this would be fun for a kid to
What
do.
is so neat is you took a simple chocolate cake, one that is extremely healthy because it's gluten-free and dairy-free and egg-free, and you innovated and got creative and turned this into something that I recall as a child. We ate a lot of these.
Well, and you know, for kids who can't eat any gluten or dairy,
Yeah.
this is an alternative that they can eat right next to the ones who buy the store-bought
Wow,
kind
exactly.
and feel like they're having a treat too that
Or
looks like it.
The kids who normally would eat the regular ones can eat these and still think they taste just as great.
And that would
that's
be
the
great.
Cool thing.
I thought we'd make a ganache icing with walnut cream and chopped up tropical source chocolate.
That sounds delicious. I can't wait to see how you do this. This is something new for me.
To make the ganache icing, start by putting walnuts in the blender and add water and blend until smooth. We're featuring tropical source, gluten-free, dairy-free chocolate, and the first thing to do is just cut it up. This is 3 ounces.
3 ounces, okay.
3 ounces should be enough for 12.
Okay, so 1 bar would
yeah,
handle
1 bar.
the entire 12 cupcakes.
Yes. Then
There we are.
just put the chocolate in the bowl. To make the icing, we start with the walnut milk that we made,
Yes.
and we're just going to make it into walnut cream. We
Okay.
want it to get to the consistency of evaporated milk.
Which is thicker than regular milk.
Pour this over the chocolate.
It's in a glass bowl so they can handle the heat. That's
Right.
good.
And we're just going to let it sit for about a minute. So now we just stir it. To ice, we just dip these in the chocolate.
Just that simple.
It's so easy.
So kids could do this.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever heard of ice cream made of cashews?
I have not. I'm really excited about this. This sounds really good because I love cashews. I love ice cream, but I've never thought of making ice cream from cashews. So
This is
Let's see
it's
how you do this.
surprisingly easy.
yeah.
So we take water, put it in the blender, take the cashews and put them in the blender, and then just a tiny bit of salt
Just kind of pump the flavor up.
Yep.
Yeah.
and some vanilla. This is
Good quality vanilla.
Substantial, yeah, good vanilla. Now we're going to blend this for quite a while. You blend until smooth. This may take about 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
Whew, that took a while.
Took a while, but that's what you have to do to get nuts ground up.
Definitely. Okay, then we just strain this into the pot. And I am going to strain it this time. Since there's so many nuts, I just want to be sure it's smooth.
Yeah.
We're going to cook this to make it into a cream.
Okay.
Make it a little thick, and we're going to cook it until it coats the back of a spoon. And since it is nuts and it's fat, I'm going to use a heat diffuser. We didn't use this before because we had such a small amount of volume. But since we have more here and it's going to cook a while, I want to use this just to be sure we don't scorch it. Now I'm adding a cup of sugar. This is ready, and we'll put it in a metal bowl and chill it in the refrigerator for a few hours at least. This is chilled. We pour this in the ice cream maker. And you can use any kind of ice cream maker that you have. Put the plunger in.
And that's going to be like the paddles on the old time ones that you would crank, okay?
And then just put the lid on top. And follow the manufacturer's directions.
This is just so innovative, just cashew ice cream with just cashews and water and sugar and vanilla. I mean, how much simpler can you get?
It's so simple. So it's set up. This has been
So
going for a while. Isn't this easy?
Simple.
You know, if you keep this little canister thing in your freezer.
At all times.
Yeah.
Then you're always ready.
You're always ready to make ice cream. And oh, look how nice and thick that got here. Let's take a taste.
Smooth and creamy. The flavor's terrific. I love cashews, even plain, so I would love anything made with cashews. This is great.
Would you like another little bite?
Yeah.
Me too.
Could eat the whole container.
I could too. So we've made cupcakes that are filled with marshmallow cream and ganache icing and ice cream. We could have a party.
We could have a party.
Let's have a birthday party.
This is just delicious.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was so much fun. Thank you for asking me to be here. What a fun place to be. Time for the party.
Definitely. I hope you've enjoyed our program today. I am devoted to showing people how to cook without gluten or dairy and with low or no cholesterol. I believe it is possible to cook without products that cause problems and to create dishes with alternative ingredients that rival those with traditional ingredients. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to write to me at info@alternativecook.com. For a listing of ingredients used in the DVDs or to order more DVDs, please visit our website at www.alternativecook.com. I look forward to seeing you in another program.
No gluten, no dairy, low cholesterol. No gluten.